looking at you like you was crazy?
It don't matter about what people look at me like, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, there's one thing about me, man. That's how I got here, and that's how I'm gonna stay here. You know what I mean? I don't care what other people think. I don't care what people saying. You know what I mean? Like, when I came in, I was by myself. You know what I mean? So, like, when it's time to make them important decisions, like, I'm gonna be by myself. When it's time to have fun, like, when it's time to die, when it's time to do everything, bro. Like, you came in by yourself, you're gonna die by yourself. You're gonna be in that casket by yourself. So you can't give a damn about what nobody think. You know what I mean? Like, cause it ain't gonna never be a day that nobody in the world had to wake up and be you. You know what I mean? So I tell my partners that, I tell all my friends, all my brothers, you know what I'm saying? Like, your decision is everything, bro.
All right, welcome to the Eric J. the Great podcast show. Got a very special guest on the show today, Jesse Flores. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Eric J. I appreciate you having me on.
So for anybody out there that don't know who this is, it's a very accomplished music executive. He has did a lot of things with people like Royce 5'9", Slum Village, Trina, Raekwon, E40, some of my favorite artists. You know, the list goes on. So we're gonna get his whole story, and then we're gonna get into what he's got going on now. So first off, just tell the people where you from.
Yeah, so I'm Jesse Flores. I'm head of artists and label relations at Intercept Music, which is a global digital company for independent artists and labels. I grew up in Florida. I'm a Florida boy. I currently live in LA and Atlanta, kind of back and forth and bi-coastal. But I do spend a lot of the time in LA. But yeah, man, just been in the business for about close to 30 years. My pedigree is mostly in distribution, and it's been a great ride so far.
Absolutely. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of your hometown?
I would consider my hometown to be the Tampa Bay area, and I would just say family and love. You know, my family still lives there. I still got a lot of great friends from high school to college on up. Always love going home. I was just actually there recently, and it's just a different world, man, than LA. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air to get away from all the craziness in a lot of the big cities like LA or like a New York. You know, it's the South, so I love being there and being home, and it's just a lot of familiarity and a lot of being comfortable.
Absolutely. So for anybody that never been to Tampa, just describe how it was growing up there as a kid, some of the struggles and obstacles you have to overcome just growing up in a city like Tampa.
I had a pretty good childhood. You know, our parents raised us right. I got 3 younger brothers. I'm the oldest, and always really focused on school and getting our priorities straight with that. You know, no knucklehead business really going on down there. My mom's from New York. She's from the Bronx. My dad's from Houston. So they kind of settled on Florida as far as raising us as kids. And I think it was a really good idea in hindsight, just because, you know, we weren't caught up into a lot of the message you get into when you're dealing with, living in the big city or the inner city. It was a really good place to grow up. And I always had a love for music. I just didn't know how I could get into the music business at the time when I was out there, and this was growing up in the 90s. So, I really just kept school as my number one priority and focus. And then when I got into college at the University of Florida, that's when I really figured out, okay, how can I get my foot in the door with this music industry? I love music. I actually played music. At the time I was playing saxophone, but I didn't want to like major in that and make that my career. So I think college is where I kind of figured out how to, find myself a way to get into this business and make a career out of it.
Absolutely. So what type of activities you was into as a kid? Did you play any sports, anything like that?
I did. I played baseball, played soccer. I really wanted to play football. I love football, but my parents were really supporting that just because of the injury aspect. And, at the time I didn't really understand, but now I see, all these head injuries and severe injuries that you can get from playing ball. It could really affect you as you grow older in life. So didn't really play any football, like tackle football, but baseball, like I said, soccer. And then just music. I love music. I was the kind of kid that would love go to the mall, the music store, and just spend hours in the store listening to albums, trying to figure out what albums I didn't have that I wanted to buy, or asked for, during Christmas or my birthday, or, just sitting there trying to figure out, what new R&B or hip hop album was coming out that I was going to be a fan of that I would have before all my friends had it, type of thing. So I was really trying to be on the forefront of trying to figure out what music is next and what music's hot and what I could have before anybody else could listen to.
That's what I can feel that. So as far as the music, did you have anybody in your family or close friends as you was growing up that was involved in the music business, or were you the first one to go down and rap?
I was the first one. My parents and family weren't really in the music business per se. My mom, she did love music. She was a big fan of Motown. So any like vacations or road trips we take, we'd have a whole bunch of like tapes to listen to, cassettes, from a lot of the Motown artists. Listened to the radio a lot when I was a kid, so it was a lot of Prince, a lot of Michael Jackson, that type of thing. But I'm actually the only one that's actually in the music business.
Absolutely. So, so at any time, was you an artist at any time, or was it straight? You just went straight to executive rap?
Yeah, I was never really an artist. I did play music growing up, like in school and a little bit in college. I played, alto saxophone, baritone saxophone in band and concert band, jazz band. But as far as like being an artist, whether it's singing or rapping, I know I didn't have the gift. The gift. I didn't have, the ability to freestyle, or so I didn't even, put that front on like I could be an artist because I wasn't talented like that. But I knew I had a love for music and the music business, so I figured as far as like being on the industry side, that's something I could really excel in because I did have that business acumen at the time.
Absolutely. So, graduate high school, you go to college, you get certified or something. But, we have a lot of people out here that has credentials, but they don't know how to network, know how to talk to people, build relationships,
Yeah.
things like that. So once you have started getting into the music industry when you was fresh, how did you start building those relationships and establishing yourself when you first started to where you can see yourself having a career?
That's a really good question. That definitely did start in college, while I was in school. The first thing I really did that was kind of related to music or music distribution was I would sell mixtapes on my campus. Since my mom was from New York, we would go to New York every summer to spend time with our family. And being in New York during the summertime in the 90s was amazing because, hip hop was a part of the lifestyle up there. You hear it on the radio, you'd hear it, walking down the street, you hear it in different stores. And there were actually stores that would sell a lot of mixtapes. And what I would do is I would establish relationships with people that own these mixtape stores and say, hey, look, we can't get these mixtapes down there in Florida. Send me UPS a box full of mixtapes and I'll sell them to you for you. And, I started that whole relationship and, we had some great mixtapes at the time from DJs like DJ Clue and DJ SNS and Ron G and Doo-Wop and Tony Touch. So all these guys that were getting hot records at the time, exclusive remixes. There were a lot of blend tapes at the time too, which they call mashups now. So all this stuff was, you couldn't really hear it on the radio. You couldn't really have access to it, but I was selling it on campus. So that kind of started my career in music distribution without knowing it. And from there, I was able to parlay that into joining a organization on campus called Student Government Productions. And it was basically a booking agency run by students that brought talent to the school to perform at concerts. So I got to work with artists like Tribe Called Quest and Farside and Lost Boys and Redman. So that was a time where I was like, you know what? I like this. I can see myself doing this. How can I take this to the next level? And I was able to, in the next few months after that, get a college rep job, which is a part-time gig for a major distributor called PolyGram Music at the time. And that's kind of really how I got my first foot in the door and, really started my career in the music industry.
Yeah, it's dope that you had the opportunity to do it while you was in school because a lot of people, you know, they be able to go through school, graduate, and then they just have to figure it out, whenever they get back home or if they choose to stay where they at.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel blessed. I was able to, learn and absorb and pretty much be a sponge and figure out, okay, it's called the music business for a reason. I'm going to be on the business side, and there's all these different avenues that you can take. Because when I got into college, I didn't know about distributors or, how, people actually, artists actually got their music into the record stores. All I knew was I like what I heard. I'm buying the CD or the cassette, and that's pretty much it. So I figured out that there was a whole business behind everything, and I was able to figure out how I can be a part of that and learn and kind of rise up the ladder to the point where I'm an executive at a company like an EMI on a national level.
Absolutely. So, when you look back on the years, like just like in anything, everybody has that has their breaking point. What would you say was that breaking point for you that really catapulted you to be like, all right, yeah, I made it now?
Sure. So when I was at Universal, I was a sales rep at the time. This is the early 2000s. And, it was a pretty good gig. I was basically servicing all the retail stores in Southern California, whether it's the Tower Records, Virgin Records, independent record stores, making sure they would buy our products and, stock our shelves, set up different events for all the artists, whether it's a retail run or, in stores where the artists would come and sign. I got a chance in 2004 to be a national director of marketing for EMI Music. So that was one of the competing distributors, and at the time. And, I applied. I was referred by one of my good friends, and I got the job. And I think that was a breaking point because I went from being a regional sales rep to a national executive, and I was able to really spread my wings at that job, working with some great artists like Ice Cube, Trina, Bobby V, Raekwon, Tyrese, along with several others.
Absolutely. That's did you have any like star starstruck moments like when your first encounter with a real major artist when you came exec?
Without a doubt. I mean, at the time, it was just a dream come true working with all these artists that I grew up listening to, like an Ice Cube, like a Raekwon, Twista. These are guys that I remember buying their projects. Ice Cube was the first, I think, cassette tape I ever bought. I was under 18 and I'm buying explicit lyric, albums. And I remember Kill At Will was one of those albums, and I'll never forget it because it's, I'm the type of kid that would, be on the bus going to school, just listening to all my music nonstop, and until the letters will fall off the cassette tape type of thing. So Ice Cube definitely won. I had a privilege of working with that man, and it was just an amazing experience because he was obviously an artist for several years, but he's also a professional. He's clearly an entertainment mogul because at the time he was doing music, but he was also doing movies. And it was just a great time to be alive, to work with somebody that knew the business, had a plan, rolled it out the right way, was never late, never said no to anything that we proposed as far as like marketing opportunities. He was definitely the consummate professional, I would say.
Absolutely. So I asked a lot of people in the music business this question. Do you believe artists is targeted by as far as like their lyrics and their artwork? If so, why?
I think they are in some instances, but at the same time, I could see why people say any publicity is good publicity because people are talking about it. So whether, people have an opinion on something, whether it's good or bad, it's a talking point and it's a reason to gain some awareness, publicity on what you're doing. So it could be a double-edged sword, but you got to figure out a way to parlay that into your benefit.
Absolutely. So as far as for all your followers out there, what's some things you like doing in your spare time when you're not dealing with music?
I'm a big time football fan, definitely college football junkie. I went to Florida, so I'm a big time Gator, and I follow everything from like recruiting to the practices, spring practice, all that good stuff. So definitely into football, sports in general, baseball, spending time with my family and friends. The music business is something that's more of a lifestyle than a career. It's not really a 9 to 5, but when I do get some off time, I like to spend it with family and friends.
So, if you, what would you say is your most successful endeavor when you look back on your all the stuff you've done?
I like to say that it's still to come, because I'm still in the biz and doing my thing. But I would have to say my tenure at EMI Music, just because it was a time where a lot of major distributors were not really focusing on independent distribution deals. And EMI was one of the first major companies to really focus on building relationships with artists that are mainly coming off major label deals that want to remain independent, but also have that major label support. And that's what we did at EMI. We were doing these third party deals with all these artists and, creating moments for them, just doing things that they haven't been done before in their careers. So say for artists like Tyrese, by the time it was like 2010, 2011, he was already a star, music star, movie star. But, with our album we did at EMI, we were able to give him his first #1 record ever. And this guy had been signed to RCA Records for several projects. So doing stuff like that really made a difference in my career, things that I'll always remember.
Absolutely. So, you dealing with all these different type of artists mean, I'm pretty sure you met 1,000 artists, So, what is the most, what's the word I'm looking for? What makes you happy when, dealing with an artist? Like when you see, like, if you, say if it's an artist you came in contact with, he didn't have a buzz and you see him just get to that height, you know what I'm saying? And y'all had a good relationship and things like that. What is the most, um,
Rewarding.
yeah, rewarding, thing that you get from that?
I think it's definitely to this day taking an unknown artist who's just getting started off and making them a household name. So someone like a Nelly, like when I was at Universal Music Group, we had Universal Records, and one of the main artists at the time was Nelly, and he hadn't put anything out. He had just been signed, and they shipped his first single, Country Grammar, to radio. And it's just to see that progression in over a year from being an unknown artist to being a superstar. That's definitely rewarding. It always will be. Same thing with listening to an artist's first single for the first time and knowing, like in the first 30 seconds, this is going to be a smash hit. You just know from the get go. Like when I heard Ja Rule, Always on Time, I knew that was going to be a hit. And sure enough, months later, it's all over the radio and it just took off. So things like that to this day still make an impact on me and are definitely rewarding.
Absolutely. So, a lot of people always hear things from the artist side, but we rarely hear from the executive side. So, tell people out there what is something that you came across in the industry as executive that that caught you off guard. Like when you get into something, you kind of trying to look in the future, be like, oh, I know I might come across this. I might have to deal with these type of people or things like that. What was something that just caught you off guard just about being in the industry you in?
To be completely transparent, I'd say it's being expendable. I've been laid off a couple times, and if you've been in the industry for several years, that could potentially happen. More than likely, will happen. And I was caught off guard the first time it happened because I had just made the company millions of dollars, by signing all the artists that I had signed at the time. And just to know that I was expendable and I was being let go just really hit me hard and kind of caught me off guard. So the thing from that I learned is that you can fall down, but you can always get back up, and that's exactly what happened. I got knocked down, but I was able to find a new home at another company and found out who my real friends are in the industry and kept close with those people that are in that circle and they really had my back. And sure enough, about a year later or whatever, I was able to start something new at another company and keep the career going. So I would say that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you would think too many executives won't be as expendable like that, just
Yeah.
especially if you got a track record.
Yeah. Well, what the thing is that the thing that we can't control as employees is company mergers. Ever since the early 2000s, all the major companies have been consolidating. There used to be 6 major distributors. Now there's 3. So the industry is basically cut in half. since then. And because of that, there's going to be mergers and acquisitions. And at that point, you're just part of the head count. And, the executives that are tasked with leading the new company have to lay off some people just to make it sense, have it make sense, for the new way the company's going to run the business. So that's just unfortunately a big part of the business, and I'm glad to still be here today.
Absolutely. So, what are some of your short and long term goals? What do you want to accomplish here in the next 1 to 5 years?
One of my main goals nowadays is to really become a high level executive at Intercept Music, and basically take their business to the next level. To make sure that they're one of the premier distributors in the next year or two going forward. So you hear them along with other companies like an Orchard or Virgin Music or, United Masters or an Empire. We want to make sure that Intercept Music is one of those companies that you hear that's putting out great music and developing great partnerships with artists and labels in the near future.
Absolutely. So, as far as where you at now, what's some things y'all got going on now that y'all you want the public to know about?
Yeah, so I mean, at Intercept Music, we're really on the forefront of music distro and technology. Layered up under that is a great team of established music executives that are there to help, grow our clientele, and whether it's release strategy or helping them with marketing suggestions on how to build their business. That's what we're here for, and I think that's what really separates us from everybody else. We're not going to be one of those distributors where you can't, reach somebody by phone or they're not responding to your email in a timely manner. That's pretty much not how we operate. We also pride ourselves on being able to provide tools and services for our partners that make sense and can help them, take their career to the next level. So within our dashboard, of course, you can upload your music and get it out to all the DSPs like Spotify and Apple Music. But we also have tools embedded in our dashboard that can help you, take things to the next level, whether it's a merch store. We have a merch integration with Shopify. You can book advertising through our dashboard, whether it's Spotify or YouTube or just digital online ads. All that can be done. Social media management, that can be done as well. We actually have AI integrated into our platform in regards to marketing, where you can use AI to, create a bio or a press release, or even social media messaging or posts. All that can be done within our platform. So things like that, our labels and artists really appreciate and find some value in.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody's coming around to this AI now. It's crazy how this AI is getting integrated into life in general.
It is, definitely.
But well, how many artists y'all got on y'all roster right now?
We got a few hundred artists currently signed up with Intercept, and going forward, we want to partner with the right artists, the right independent labels that make a lot of sense as far as having a commercial fan base already, and we want to help grow their business and take it to the next level. So knowing that maybe it's an artist that has 500 followers on Spotify, we're going to help them get that to 1,000 and beyond. They have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Let's take that to 5,000. That's the kind of logic that we're using in helping grow their business, and we definitely have the tools in place to facilitate that.
Absolutely. So the business structure that y'all have dealing with a lot of independent artists and doing a lot of joint deals, would you say y'all were similar to like an Empire, or is that
Yeah, Empire, Orchard, Virgin, in regards to offering distribution deals where the label or artist will have 100% creative control. They own the rights to their music. We're there to partner with them and provide services for them, whether it's distribution, whether it's merch, having a merch store. We only participate in what we eat. We eat what we kill. Non-exclusive sync, as well, licensing. So things like that, we basically augment what they're already doing. Ideally, the ideal situation for us would be an artist or label that comes to us with a completed project. They have a marketing plan, but they want to have us add on to that, what we think makes sense, whether it's marketing suggestions, whether it's advertising, whether it's release strategy. We want to be their strategic growth partner and be there for them to help them go to the next level.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think every time I hear of independent artists, man, I always think about Young Dolph. You know, I admired everything he did as a building what he built when he was living, and I just think he was like a pioneer for that.
Absolutely. And
Independent
before
art.
him, it was Master P and No Limit and those artists. They've been doing independent deals for a very long time. So Dolph definitely was the next generation of independent entrepreneurs and executives to take advantage of that and just do their thing. I mean, they basically had a lot of success, and unfortunately, his untimely passing happened a few years ago. But you see artists like Key Glock and everybody that was under Paper Route Empire that are still doing very well.
Absolutely. So, for the people out there, just when it's a work day, just describe a typical work day for you. Like, from morning to end, like something that you'll do almost every day on a typical day.
Yeah, so once I wake up, I like to look through all my websites, to just get caught up with the industry's news. So that's Billboard.biz, Music Business Worldwide, Hits Daily Double, Variety, Digital Music News. Just going through every website that I pretty much look at on a daily basis to see what the latest news is. I like to set up my calls, any conference calls or Zoom meetings in the morning just to knock that out. Same thing with email. I like to go through my email inbox first thing in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I kind of leave open for any like callbacks or any offsite meetings that I take because I'm currently living in Los Angeles. So I leave that for the afternoon and then just kind of do the same thing the next day.
Absolutely. So you being an executive and you knowing a lot about the business, have you ever thought about getting into having your own label and signing artists?
I have, and a lot of that depends on finding the right artists at the right point in their career where you can really make an impact. I've definitely met artists that fit that bill, um, and then at the same time, I'm always looking for a company, whether it's a EMI or Virgin Music or Ingrooves or a Intercept Music. So the one thing I did think about at one point was managing artists. It's just not something I may move forward with just because it's very time consuming. And again, you got to find the right artist with the right work ethic and the right music that you believe in to really, succeed in this business. So it really hasn't happened up to this point, but I think the path that I've chosen, working for a company like Intercept, where I can come in as a high level executive, made the most sense for me because I know I could come right in, step in, and hit the ground running.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's when I think about all of your accomplishments, you being able to be in a business that long, anybody to be able to do something over 20 years at a high level, is rare, because a lot of people can't hold a consistency up that long, or just being a good person, because your relationships is everything. So for you to be in any type of business for years and decades, you have to establish great relationships with people. Name that your face card has to be good, and a lot of people underestimate things like that.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, and to be in the music business and be somebody that's what I would say, a stand-up guy, have credibility, someone that's reliable, someone that is going to call you back. That means everything because, like you said, to be in something for years and decades, you got to be able to have to be someone that you could trust and know that they're going to give you the real and be honest with you and upfront. Because there are some shady people in the business. There are some people that aren't going to call you back. There are some people that are going to say they're going to do something and never do it. You just got to realize that who they are, be able to recognize that, and go the other way basically, because and stay away from those type of characters because they are there. But yeah, I pride myself on being credible and being somebody that you can rely upon. That's going to be there when you call upon me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just looking at your recent press release about the Intercept music, and yeah, man, you done been around everybody, man. See quality control, and there's a lot of dope people they got listed on here. Yeah, I think main thing, when I think about the music industry, I wish it could just get back to how it was like 20 years ago. Like it's about music.
Mhm.
People is not having these set agendas and stuff to like push BS and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
just make it more genuine. I felt like when Biggie, Tupac, and Jay-Z and all them was first rolling out and stuff, I felt like it was more. I mean, it's still a business at the end of the day, but I feel like it was more genuine as far as like the artists and the executive relationships.
No, I agree with you. I think back then you really had to have talent to be able to be at the point where you could release music to the masses and be signed to a major label. You had to be able to sing. You had to be able to rap. You had to be able to freestyle. Come with the lyricism. Come with the wittiness. Come with uniqueness. Have that unique voice. When you heard a Jay-Z record, you knew it was Jay-Z. When you heard Gangstar, you knew it was Guru. When you heard Rakim, you knew it was Rakim, just based off the voice alone. There wasn't a lot of people that sounded the same or had the same style. So I agree with you there. The other thing is that, back then, there were gatekeepers, these labels. In order to release music and have it in a record store, you had to be pretty much signed to a label. Nowadays anybody can release music from their bedroom, and so which creates a bunch of clutter out there. And the challenge nowadays is for artists is to find a way to rise above the noise. And, that's where I think having a good distributor like Intercept Music can help do that, help you rise above the noise, and separate yourselves, help develop a strong brand and a unique story that really resonates with your fan base, and create a strategy that'll keep that fan base engaged for all your releases that you have coming in the near future. So things like that all matter. They all factor in being able to market yourself and really spread your message through social media. That's also a factor as well. So there's all these things that you have to take in consideration when you're trying to put out music and building a career.
Absolutely. So I know you've been around all type of artists. So I'm gonna ask you to give me have you dealt with every genre? Or was it hip hop, R&B?
I do. I mean, there are some genres that I haven't really, dealt with, like country and some like, small little niches, subgenres. But for the most of my career, yes, I have dealt with most genres.
So give me your Mount Rushmore for hip hop, R&B, and pop. The top,
Wow, that's a
top,
lot. All
top
right, so
five.
hip hop, man, I
Dead,
gotta go.
dead or alive.
Yeah, hip hop, I gotta go with Ice Cube, Scarface. Uh, I'd say Biggie, Pac, and I'm a Florida boy, so I gotta throw in JT Money
Oh
or,
yeah,
or
JT.
Uncle Luke, one of them two. R&B. Wow, R&B. Gotta go with like R. Kelly. I gotta go with Jodeci, Mary J. I was a big fan of the Uptown Records scene. Babyface. Um, one more. I'll leave it at that. And then pop, Michael Jackson, Prince. Mm, wow. Wow. Michael Jackson, Prince. I'll go with Mariah. I'll go with Janet.
Yeah, that's a solid
Yeah.
right there. Yeah, you real Florida
Yeah.
right there. You said JT Money. Uh, I interviewed a couple of people I was actually supposed to have him on the show
Okay.
because I know I'm real good friends with Jay Shin.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I got introduced to both of them by this guy named Wish the Great that does music,
Okay.
and I had Jay Shin on the podcast because he had this song with uh Latoya Luckett. I mean
Okay.
Latoya from Escape.
Yep.
It was #2 on the Billboard. I want to say it was what's the name of that song? I want to say it was One Night Stand or something.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of JT and Poison Clan, and just growing up, I was a supporter of the home team artists like, Jam Pony Express or Uncle Al, Clay D and DJ Magic Mike, like all those guys I grew up listening to. So I'm always be a fan.
Absolutely. So, what you got coming in the future? Like, what's some new things you got coming for the rest of the year?
We're working on a lot of great deals that are close to being finalized, so I can't really announce that yet. Hopefully in the next week or two. But we got a new project coming from Cali Ranks, who's a dancehall reggae artist that was signed to Def Jam. He's got a new single called Mood. We got a young hip hop artist out of Boston called Ayo Sketch. He just dropped a new song early this month called Intro Freestyle. And we're just, looking to sign a lot of great artists. Also signing catalogs. That's a big part of our business as well. Is not only supporting artists that have new releases, but any artists that have catalogs or looking for catalog acquisitions. That's something Intercept is interested as well. So some good things coming for sure.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, man. Yeah, you definitely have a dope story. I appreciate you coming on the show. Anytime you want to come on, you can come on anytime. I don't just do interviews or um, scripted episodes. I like talking about real life too. Some of my biggest episodes came from me just talking about stuff that I know people go through. I was in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people went through a lot of. I started podcasts because I know a lot of people could go through mental stuff and don't get to see therapy for it. So I was like, doing episodes on fake friends, PTSD, depression, telling people how to deal with it, ghost followers, child support, co-parenting,
Mm-hmm.
the things that I know somebody's gonna come across at some point in their life, and things like that. So yeah, but everybody tap in with Jesse Flores, one of the best music execs in the industry. Got a great track record. Be on the lookout for Intercept Music to keep growing on the scene, establishing more big artists in the industry, and they're gonna keep making a big impact, changing people's lives.
Definitely, please check us out at interceptmusic.com. Hit us up on IG at Intercept Music Official, or you can just send me an email directly to me.
All right, so tell people how they can find you, social media, websites, YouTube, or things like that.
Sure, you can check us out at interceptmusic.com, or you can hit us up on Instagram at Intercept Music Official, or you can send me an email directly at jesse.flores@interceptmusic.com.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anybody out there pursuing a music career or looking to take their stuff to the next level, man, this is a company that y'all really want to get in tune with, research, and definitely reach out to the great execs they got there, changing a lot of people's lives. Got a lot of people on the roster, so that tells me that there's a lot of good business going on, and just be on the lookout, man. Things changing every year, man. We got AI, we got robots,
Yep.
cars
Yep.
by themselves now. Man,
It's crazy.
before you know it, man, shoot, we might have our be like our robot for real, have our own robot in our house. You know.
Exactly. Yep, just like the Jetsons.
Absolutely.
Kobe Bryant was here. He made a statement. You have to edit your behavior to accomplish the goals that you have.
Edit your life. What's most important to you, right? And when you do that exercise with yourself, things become clear rather quickly. I want to be the best, so I want to do this, so I want to do that. And if things in your life don't line up with that, get rid of that. It's not important.